So, someone raise their hand and tell me what who Jeff spoke about 2 weeks ago. Somebody. Jonah. Cool. What about the week before that? Who did he speak about? Jonah. Right. Who do you think we're going to be speaking about today? You are wrong. You are so wrong. You're also wrong. No, we are not talking about Jonah. If you have a Bible, Sebi Lebi Kanebi, I don't know what that is. If you have a Bible or a smartphone, some form of the Bible, please open it to Daniel chapter 3. What? Right. If you were at church this morning, you'll know what this story is already. So the title of this message is Facing the Fire. Every day, we all go through crap. Am I right? We all face crap every single day. As Christians, we face obstacles in our lives. Maybe we're new Christians. Maybe our friends ridicule us because we're new Christians. They don't understand how we could have done what we used to do and now we're different. Or maybe we're tempted by things in our lives, which we all are, because the devil tempts us. And as believers in Christ, things get thrown in our direction. It's biblical. The devil throws stuff in our direction. And sometimes when we try to do it by ourselves, things crumble apart because we can't do it by ourselves. We can't last. Nothing we do by ourselves works. So we need God's help. So tonight, we're going to be talking about 3 guys. If you're here at church this morning, you'll know who they are already. We're talking about 3 guys who stared death in the face and still trusted God that he was going to get them out of it. And we're going to talk about how you also can do that. Because you can do it, and it's not impossible. As impossible it might seem, it is possible. So, background to this story. King Nebuchadnezzar is the ruler of Babylon, and he takes over the tribe of Judah. And the tribe of Judah is the tribe of Israel. The Israelites, God's people. They're Hebrews. So he attacks them, he takes them over, and since he was in control now, he's all like, yo, I need like servants and stuff. I need workers. So he told his guys to go pick some strong young men to be on his staff. So his little dudes pick some young men for the running for the king's employees. And these men included 3 we'll be talking about tonight. And their names are Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Now you're thinking, that's not at all what I expected. It's because since King Nebuchadnezzar was all like, yeah, I'm the ruler now, so I don't like their Hebrew names. So he changed them to Babylonian names, and that's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. How many of you heard those names? Okay, cool. So we're on the same page. Okay, so Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So long story short, these guys ate a lot of veggies, looked really, really hot compared to everyone else, so the king picked them. So they're now the king's employees. And their friend Daniel, right? Yeah, that was funny, right? Their friend Daniel interpreted King Nebuchadnezzar's dreams. So then Nebuchadnezzar is like, all right, I'm putting these guys in like charge of almost everything in Babylon. So these are really close guys to the king. So they're in charge of most of what goes on in Babylon. And that brings us to our story. So King Nebuchadnezzar was a guy that was really proud of himself. Of all the things he accomplished. I mean, he conquered nations. He conquered countries. Like, why wouldn't you be proud of yourself? I'm proud of what I accomplished. But he, like, flaunts it a little bit, and he makes a 90-foot-tall statue of himself out of gold. If you've seen VeggieTales, it's a gigantic chocolate bunny. The bunny. Yeah, big chocolate bunny. Keep that in your head. So he builds this 90-foot statue of himself. If you want to know a little fact, that's about 15, or not 15, what do I think, 15? 6 giraffes stacked on top of each other. That's a little fun fact. 6 giraffes. It's pretty tall. No, the Statue of Liberty is like 150 feet tall without the base. Yeah. Anyway, it's like 6 giraffes tall, which is pretty tall. So he flaunts this statue of himself. And he's like he sent messages to everyone in Babylon, like all the important people, and said, bring everybody you know. I want you all to come to the dedication of my statue. So he told them all, like they're at the dedication, right? He tells them all, when the band starts playing, every single one of you has to bow down and worship my statue, or else you're going to die. He's like, I'm going to throw you into a big vat of fire, a big furnace. Yeah, vat of fire. A huge flaming furnace. So the band starts playing their music, and everyone bows down and worships this gigantic gold statue. And some of the king's astrologers went to him and was like, yo, king, you know those 3 guys that you put in charge of everything? They're not bowing down. They don't care about you. They don't respect you. They don't care that you're king. And that's going to bring us to where we're going to start. So if you guys want to turn to Daniel 3, verse 13, we're going to start there. It says, then Nebuchadnezzar flew into rage and ordered that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought before him. When they were brought in, Nebuchadnezzar said to them, is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you refuse to serve my gods or to worship the gold statue I have set up? I will give you one more chance to bow down and worship the statue I have made when you hear the sound of the musical instruments. But if you refuse, you will be thrown immediately into the blazing furnace. And then what God will be able to rescue you from my power? So what they say to him is pretty incredible. Because keep in mind that this is the king of the nation that they live in. He basically owns them. They're his employees. They look him in the face, right? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied, O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you. Already, that's pretty crazy. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God whom we serve is able to save us. He will rescue us from your power, your majesty. And this is even crazier. But even if he doesn't, we want to make it clear to you, your majesty, that we will never serve your gods or worship the gold statue you have set up. All right. So they're good friends with the king, yeah, but he's still the king. And they're kind of just like shoving this in his face. Like, yeah, you built that statue. We don't care. I want to make it clear to you that I don't care what you want us to do. We're not going to serve your gods. So how do we face fire? First thing, be bold. These guys were bold. All right? I don't know that I could go up to Barack Obama and say, I don't care that you're the president. Actually, I know for a fact that's a law, isn't it? I'd get shot or probably put to death. You can't slander the president. You're going to die. So be bold. 2 Timothy 1, verse 7 says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. We are not supposed to be scared. These guys weren't scared of what was going to happen to them. They looked the king of the nation in the eyes and basically said, kill us, we don't care. They didn't care about the fire. They aimed solely to please and worship God. Nothing else mattered. Being ridiculed didn't matter. Being judged didn't matter. And the fact that they weren't doing what everyone else was doing didn't matter. They stepped out of their comfort zone and they were bold. Be bold. So verse 19, so we're going to pick up. Nebuchadnezzar was so furious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that his face became distorted with rage. Okay, so first thing, have you ever seen somebody so mad that they actually look like a different person? Some of you are shaking your heads. Some of you are raising your hands. I don't know about that. Okay, the Bible literally says his face changed. He looked different. He was so angry that his face distorted with rage. He commanded that the furnace be heated 7 times hotter than usual. Then he ordered some of the strongest men of his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the blazing furnace. So they tied them up and threw them into the furnace, fully dressed in their pants, turbans, robes, and other garments. And because the king, in his anger, had demanded such a hot fire in the furnace, the flames killed the soldiers as they threw the 3 men in. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, securely tied, fell into the roaring flames. All right. So these guys, like, man, I don't know what I would have done in this situation. Like, I can't even imagine what I would have been thinking, right? So imagine someone getting so mad that they look different. I mean, some of you might have seen that. I guess some of you might have. But their face changes, and they order something that would already kill you. I mean, being thrown into a big thing of fire, it would kill you. It might take a little while, but it would kill you. And then he orders it to be 7 times hotter. That's 7 times the death. You're going to die 7 times faster than you normally would have if you can't do that math. And then these big, strong, muscular guys from the army come and tie your hands and feet together and cut off your circulation. You can't feel anything anymore. My head would be saying, I'm going to die today. I'm going to die. And that's you'd probably throw up. Yeah, that's a possibility. But no, they weren't saying, I'm going to die. They trusted God. What do? How do we face the fire? Number 2, we trust God. It didn't matter that they were getting tied up and basically imminent death. That's what I would have been thinking, but they were like, no, we're going to trust God. He's going to save us. And I'm just like, whoa. And then what's crazy is in verse 24, something awesome happens. It says, but suddenly Nebuchadnezzar jumped up in amazement and exclaimed to his advisors, didn't we tie up 3 men and throw them into the furnace? They're all like, yes, your majesty, we certainly did. They're all like, yeah, I know everything. Yeah, of course we did. And he's like, well, look, Nebuchadnezzar shouted, I see 4 men, unbound, walking around in the fire unharmed, and the 4th one looks like a god. Just picture that. So, like, these guys are, like, tied up like crazy. Big, strong army men tied them up, right? And they get thrown into a big thing of fire, and then all of a sudden he looks in the fire, and they're, like, free from their bonds, walking around with another person that's really shiny. What would you be thinking? He's like, what is going on? Like, I'm trying to kill people, and they're walking around in my death trap. Then Nebuchadnezzar came as close as he could to the door of the flaming furnace and shouted, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stepped out of the fire. Then the high officers, officials, governors, and advisors crowded around them and saw that the fire had not touched them. Not a hair on their heads was singed, and their clothing was not scorched. They didn't even smell like smoke. Okay, so how many of you have been around a campfire ever? I have been around many campfires. How many of you know that when you go home or when you leave, you smell like fire? I love that smell. That's my favorite. Right. Wash your clothes and take a shower. But, like, you leave a fire, you smell like fire. That's a normal thing. They were in fire, and they didn't even smell like fire. They were in fire and didn't smell like fire. Then Nebuchadnezzar said, praise to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He sent his angel to rescue his servants who trusted in him. They defied the king's command and were willing to die rather than serve or worship any god except their own. Therefore, I make this decree. And this is kind of funny. It's kind of gruesome, but it's funny. If any people, whatever their race or nation or language, speak a word against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they will be torn limb from limb, and their houses will be turned into heaps of rubble. There is no other God who can rescue like this. So, number 3. How do we face the fire? We stand firm. 3, we stand firm. These guys stayed obedient to God. Okay? They knew what was going to happen to them when they were like, I'm not going to bow down to that. I mean, the king issued a decree, which means everybody in the nation knows about it. They knew they were going to be put to death. They knew they were going to be thrown into a furnace. But they stayed obedient to God. They knew what they were going up against, but they stood firm. And that changed the whole nation. The king issued a decree. I mean, yeah, like, if you disrespect their God, they're going to rip your arms off and blow up your house. Basically what's going to happen to you. They stood firm in what they believed in. And the entire nation of Babylon now has respect for God because they stayed obedient. John 16:33 says, I have told you all this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart because I have overcome the world. God is on your side. Can you all stand up, please? God is on your side. Remember when we started and I asked you if any of you have crap going on in your life? Everybody said, yeah. It's the truth. Everyone has stuff going on in their life. Everybody in this room has stuff going on right now. And you know, school's almost over. Some of you, it's already over. Summer's here. What are you going to do with your summer? In September, what are you going to do when you go back to school? What's going to be different? If you could all bow your heads, close your eyes. I'm going to ask you a few questions. Maybe some of you tonight are saying, I'm just not bold enough to deal with this stuff. I'm not outgoing. I'm an introvert. I don't know what to do when I'm under this pressure. I just don't know what to do. I'm not bold. Remember, 2 Timothy 1, verse 7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. God has instilled in us a spirit of power, love, and self-discipline. You know, maybe you are saying, I'm just not bold enough. I need the boldness that God gives us. I need to be able to step out in my faith. Maybe some of you just aren't trusting God to get you out of your situation. Maybe you feel stuck. Maybe you feel like, man, I just keep doing this over and over again. I'm never going to get out of this. Nothing's ever going to change. I'm stuck for life. Maybe some of you just need to trust that God will actually get you out of your situation. Or maybe some of you just aren't standing firm for what you believe in. What do you believe in? You know, these guys, they didn't do what everyone else was doing because they wanted to do what was right. But some of you guys, friends are sleeping with people. Some of you think it's cool to sleep with people. So you just do what everyone else does. My friends smoke weed, why can't I? She likes boys. Why can't I just go sleep around? Makes you cool. Or does it? It doesn't. But maybe you guys just don't know how to stand firm in what you believe in. Maybe it's too difficult. So tonight, if you guys are saying, man, I just want to be bold. I just want to be able to step out. I want to be able to tell people about Jesus. If you feel tonight that you want the boldness that God gives us, would you just slip up a hand? Okay, you can put them down. If you guys feel like you just need to put yourself out there and just trust God with your situations, He will get you out of them. You just need to fully give it up to Him. If you just feel like you're not trusting God enough, you just want to trust God tonight, would you just slip up your hand? Okay, you can put them down. And maybe some of you just aren't standing firm. Maybe some of you don't know what you believe in. Maybe some of you just have a really, really hard time with your friends influencing you. Maybe some of your friends are just telling you junk. just giving you all this info, and it's completely wrong. Maybe you guys struggle with standing firm in your faith and standing firm for what God has to offer. If tonight you're just like, man, I just want to be able to tell people about Jesus. I just want to know what I believe in and give it to other people. If you just slip up your hand. Cool, you can put them down. God, I thank you so much for tonight. God, I thank you so much for your word. God, right now I just pray that you would give us boldness. God, I pray that you would give us the strength, God, and the courage to just step out for you. It doesn't matter what anyone else is doing, God. But as long as we know what we're doing is right, whether we have to face death for it or not, or maybe just ridicule, God, I pray that we would step out in boldness for you. And God, I pray that through these situations that we deal with every day, through facing this fire that we deal with every day, God, that we would just trust that you are going to get us out of our situation. God, that we would know for a fact and believe that you are all-powerful. And God, I just pray that you would give us opportunities to step out in our faith, to stand firm in our faith. God, challenge us with that. God, challenge us to share with our friends this last week or two of school, this summer, God, next year at school, God. God, I just pray that you would give us opportunities to just stand firm in our faith and to be able to share it with other people. And God, I just pray for hope for the city. Man, it's such an opportunity to live out these three things. Just trusting, God, that you would just make it amazing. God, and it literally would change the city. Just like these three guys' actions changed Babylon. God, I pray that you would give us divine encounters at Hope for the City to just share our faith with other people. And God, I pray that you would give us boldness to step out, to be able to serve people. God, I thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and just to hear your word. God, I thank you for tonight. God, I pray that as we go from here that you would just keep us safe, God. And we thank you for tonight. And we thank you that we could just spend time with you and learn more about you. Pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.